Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, if you're feeling totally exhausted by the endless doom scroll, that heavy feeling from your daily news feed, we are doing something completely different today. We're looking at the May 6th, 2026 edition of BrightNewsDaily. This is a source that literally hand filters the news to bring us only what is actually working in the world. So instead of the usual negativity, we're going to explore some pure, undeniable positive progress. We'll break down fascinating developments across science, the environment, and the animal kingdom, and just see what happens when we intentionally change where we put our focus.
Okay, let's dive into this. 882. Now, this isn't a statistic stretched out over a decade, or a year, or even a month. This represents 882 distinct, completely positive stories published just today. BrightNewsDaily actually monitored 25 different trusted sources to curate this. It kind of puts the whole world into perspective, doesn't it? When we feel like absolutely everything is going wrong, a massive number like this is concrete proof that hundreds of incredible, uplifting things are happening around the globe every single day, usually just outside of our normal field of vision.
There's just such a stark difference in how we can consume information. Think about the usual news cycle. It's typically packed with doom, rage farming, and clickbait that's basically designed to spike your anxiety. But Bright News Daily filters the world through an entirely different lens. They focus on brilliant science, everyday acts of kindness, and incredible underdog stories. It is a complete paradigm shift. By actively choosing to consume information categorized by progress rather than panic, we can actually see the massive strides humanity and nature are making right now.
But behind these giant numbers are individual, life-changing victories. Take the number 3, for instance, specifically 3 full years. That's how long a recent group of colon cancer patients have stayed completely cancer-free, according to some amazing new research. When we talk about medical progress, it's so easy to get bogged down in dense academic jargon or the super long timelines of clinical trials. But a victory like this represents real human lives. It means families get more time together. It's a tangible, monumental step forward in the ongoing fight against cancer.
Section 1. Brilliant breakthroughs in science. And this brilliantly illustrates what a true scientific breakthrough looks like. The sheer diversity of human ingenuity right now is absolutely staggering. Researchers are literally expanding our understanding of how our own bodies function. Take scientists at the University of Leeds. They've used advanced cryo-EM imaging to actually visualize the incredibly complex mechanism behind blood clotting. Cryo-EM essentially lets us freeze molecules mid-movement, so we aren't just theorizing about how the body stops bleeding anymore, we're basically watching a microscopic movie of it happening for the very first time. It's exactly this kind of foundational visual understanding that's going to pave the way for highly targeted, life-saving treatments down the line. And this scientific momentum, it is happening everywhere all at once. Over at Harvard, researchers are mapping the internal structures of fish brains, which is unlocking unexpected evolutionary secrets about how neural pathways developed over millions of years. Meanwhile, at Keele University, scientists have successfully mapped the genetic switches that control reproduction in disease-carrying mosquitoes. By understanding those switches, we're taking a massive step toward fighting global diseases like malaria right at the source. Oh, and then you have a statistical physicist at the University of Portsmouth who's literally using physics models to predict how human language patterns spread across populations. From ancient fish brains to the complex physics of linguistics, discovery is moving forward at an astonishing pace.
Section 2. A massive push for forests.
Pivoting from the laboratory to the great outdoors, we're seeing an unbelievable financial scale being applied to nature. $500 million. Now, what's really interesting about this staggering number is that it isn't just some local community fundraiser. Octopus Energy is backing a massive $500 million push for reforestation. It shows that major corporate entities are finally recognizing the urgency and putting serious world-altering capital behind environmental restoration. We are way past just talking about saving trees. We're actively financing the rebuilding of our forests on an unprecedented global scale.
And environmental action is happening at literally every single level. Globally, the oil crisis is, ironically enough, acting as a massive accelerant for the renewable energy industry, pushing nations to innovate faster than ever. Civically, local groups like the South Lanarkshire Council are making tangible, measurable climate progress right in their own jurisdictions. And then, at the hyperlocal level, we have the very first beavers caught on film swimming at the Blashford Lakes Nature Reserve near Ringwood. From macro energy markets rapidly shifting toward renewables, right down to a pair of beavers reclaiming a local waterway, nature is quietly healing on multiple fronts.
Section 3. Uplifting Animal Kingdom Wins.
The natural world is just full of extreme resilience. Take this lone male coyote, for example. Get this, he managed to paddle his way across the choppy, freezing waters of the San Francisco Bay, swimming a full 2 miles to reach the remote Alcatraz Island. He completely stunned biologists. This solitary underdog made a watery journey twice as far as experts thought was even physically possible for the species. It just goes to show you, wildlife continually defies our expectations and the limitations we try to place on them.
And if we zoom in from a coyote down to a much, much smaller scale, we meet a fascinating new discovery. Scientists have uncovered a tiny, wall-dwelling spider and officially named it Piccollinia floydmeraria. Yep, that's inspired by the rock band Pink Floyd. But seriously, do not let its tiny size fool you. This fierce little rock and roll predator actively hunts down prey that is 6 times its own size. It is a brilliant reminder that sometimes the fiercest underdogs taking down giants are just tiny 8-legged creatures living right in the walls around us.
Let's move to our next point and see how this builds, because humanity is also actively stepping in to turn the tide for so many of these species. In County Fermanagh, Brookborough firefighters discovered and carefully rescued a nest of elusive curlew eggs directly in the path of a massive wildfire. Down in Dorset, conservationists successfully tricked ospreys into breeding by convincing the birds they'd actually been born there using some really clever decoy techniques. Meanwhile, a wildlife park just welcomed 3 male Asiatic lions, which is a huge win considering there are only about 500 to 600 of them left in the wild. And perhaps most astonishingly, scientists are utilizing Jurassic Park-style technology, specifically extracting and synthesizing ancient DNA, to resurrect an entirely extinct species of antelope. We are moving from passively observing nature to actively rescuing, protecting, and literally bringing it back to life.
Section 4. Choosing a Brighter Tomorrow.
From visualizing blood clots in the lab, to $500 million forest investments, to a coyote swimming all the way to Alcatraz, the world is buzzing with progress. So the crucial point is, how would your day change if you started it with good news? The data's out there. Those 882 positive stories, they are happening right now, whether we read them or not. We have the choice to focus our attention on the breakthroughs, the resilience, and the underdogs. When you fuel your mind with optimism and undeniable progress instead of doom and gloom, what kind of impact could you make today? It is absolutely something to think about. Thanks for exploring this with me, and I highly encourage you to go out and find a little more good news for yourself today.